Hello there, everybody. Welcome to my YouTube channel, Lessons with Guitar Man. My name's Aaron, and I'll be your designated driver here today for this great song, The Girl I Left Behind Me. Now, this is a variation that I came up with that I think you're going to find a little bit challenging. There's a little bit of cross-picking, a little bit of string skipping, some harmonics. So let's go ahead and dive in there and see how this thing works. A couple things to point out real quick before we get started. You'll notice this is in 2/4 time, and we're in the key of G. So the first measure there, or the pickup measure, where you see the 3-2, is going to be a down, up, and down, up, or 1, 2. All right. Okay, so moving on to the first measure, the first 4 notes are going to be open, open, 3, open, down, up, or open, open, 3, open. Okay, and then the next 2 notes are going to be an open and an open. And those are both downstrokes. You're going to have down, down. So that whole first measure together is going to sound like so. 1, 2, 1, 2. 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay, moving on to the second measure, you're going to have a C chord here, and over this C, we're going to start off on the 2nd fret here, and the first 4 notes of the second measure are going to be 2, open, 1, open, or down, up. So 2, open, 1, open, down, up. The next 4 notes in the second measure over the C are going to be 2, open, 2, open. Now something to point out here real quick is you're going to have what is called a string skip going on right here. So when you go 2, open, 2, and then you jump 2 strings up to the high E string and hit that right there, that's what is known as string skipping. So that whole measure together is going to sound like so. 1, 2, 1, 2. And slowly, 1, 2, 1, 2. All right, moving on to the third measure now. You're going to see a couple things in this measure that says let ring. So the first note, the 3, and then you're going to let that open B also ring there on the 5th note of the measure. So there's 2 let rings in that measure, the 3 and the open on the B string. All right, so the first 4 notes are 3, open, 3, 1, or down, up. And the next 4 notes are going to be open, open, 1. Open, 1. So that whole measure together is going to sound like so. 1, 2, 1, 2. Down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. Now moving on to the 4th measure, you're going to see a 3, an open, and then an open. And that's down, up, down. All right, so down, up, down. And that's going to be followed by 2 5s in the brackets there. And that means play harmonics, or natural harmonics, which in this case is going to be right here where you strike those 2 notes together and get that sound. If you're not aware of it, there are natural harmonics on the 5th, the 7th, and the 12th fret. In this case, we're just going to be using these 2. And the trick to getting the harmonics to work is to get it directly over the fret. Here's your fret right here. You get your finger directly over it and just barely touch the strings. Strike it with your right hand, and there you go. All right, so the first 4 notes of the 4th measure are going to be 3, open, open, chime. 3, open, open, chime. And then the last 2 notes are going to be the same as the pickup line at the very beginning, which is a 3, 2. So that whole measure together is going to sound like so. 1, 2, 1, 2. 1, 2, 1, 2. All right, now let's go ahead and play through the first 4 measures, including the pickup line, together and see what that sounds like slowly. So here we go. 1, 2, 1, 2. Moving on to the 5th measure now, you're going to see that the 5th measure is exactly the same as the 1st measure, so we don't have anything new to learn there. And then jumping down to the 6th measure, you're also going to notice that the 6th measure is the same as the 2nd measure, so there's nothing new to learn there. And then the 7th measure, or the first ending of the A part, is the same exact notes as the 3rd measure, except the last note there where you have the 2 sliding into the 4 of the 8th measure. So let's go ahead and play through that 7th measure real quick and see how this works. So that whole measure is going to sound like... Now that slide from the 2 to the 4 is an upstroke. One more time, that whole 7th measure is going to sound like... Alright, now moving on to the 8th measure, when you slide into this 4th note, which is an upstroke, you're going to hit 3 on an upstroke, then a 5 on a down, back to the 3 on a down, and then follow that whole thing up with a little part of a G chord. The 8th measure is going to sound like... And what I like to do is just kind of keep that pointer finger where it is. The last 2 notes are going to be that 3-2 again, which will get us back to the beginning of the A section. So the second ending is going to be the same as the first ending, except at the very end there you're going to see an open 1, 2. Instead of sliding from 2 to 4, you're just going to stop on that 2, which will lead us into the 10th measure, which is going to be 1, open, 2, open, strum, or down, up, down, up, strum. So let's play through that whole second ending now. 1, 2, 1, 2. Let's go ahead and play through this whole A section with both endings. 1, 2, 1, 2. In the B section here, there's only 4 measures that we really have to learn. So in the B part, at the 11th fret, you're going to have 3, open, 5, open, 3, open, 5, open. Now, you'll notice, again, we got some string skipping going on here. 1, 2, 1, 2, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. Moving on to the 12th measure, you're going to have... And again, you've got some string skipping going on here in the first 3 notes that are on the high E string, from the 7 to the 3 to the 5. You have that string skip, and that's a little difficult to do. You're going to have to practice that a little bit. Let's go ahead and play through the whole 12th measure. You got 7, open, 5, open, 3, open, 5, open. All right, so in the 13th measure, we're going to repeat the 11th measure, or the first measure of the B section, so there's nothing new to learn there. And then we jump into this D chord where we do have a new section here. And what we got is a little, looks like a D7th chord moved up to right here. And really that's, I'm thinking of it as a G7th. But I'm taking this off and just using the and then hitting the open D. So strum the chord, hit the open D, and move it back 1, hit the open D again, then move it back again, and move this finger back 1. So you got, and on the first 2, you're going to hit chord, open, chord, open. And what that really is a G7, a G diminished, and then a D7th. That whole measure is going to sound like so. 1, 2, 1, 2. And again, that little 3-2 there like we did at the very beginning of the song. Okay, so let's go ahead and play through those first 4 measures of the B part. 1, 2, 1, 2. Let's go ahead and look at the rest of the B section. What you'll see here is it literally repeats the A section. There's nothing new to learn for the rest of the tune. Let's go ahead and play through the B section one time. 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay, great. Now let's go ahead and play through the whole song, the A part and the B part, and that'll be a wrap on this tune. 1, 2, 1, 2. Alright, well that's a wrap on this tune. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. This is not an easy variation to learn, but if you stick with it, I think you'll get it. If you have any questions for me, you can reach out to me at my email address listed below in the description. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button, and I'll be seeing you down the road.